So if you paid attention to the small caption that was written over on the poster of the open mic, there was 3 words written. So it was Kash, Kash, Koshish. And these 3 words are very close to me. It's as close that I almost got a tattoo done of Kash, Kash, Koshish. But then I had to pick between Kash, Kash and Koshish and Josh, Junoon, Zid. So I got Josh, Junoon, Zid. It's here, tattooed here. But this word is still this whole phrase very close to me. So when we were talking about doing an open mic and he asked, what would you like to do, perform? And I said, Kash, Kash, Koshish. So I have 3 pieces for you today, very close to my heart. And today's performance is special because there's been a lot that has happened in my life recently. I'm currently grieving the loss of somebody very close to me. And so today the performance will be dedicated to her. A small context, and the first poem would be, as I tell you eventually, last month I got to learn that the woman I loved died in a road accident. And so that kind of took over my entire world, and I'm still processing how it's going. And so I had not been performing for a month now, and when I thought Lahe, again, the safe space that it is, I thought it would be a good change, a good start, right? So my poem today is dedicated to her. And so the first piece, which is Kash, is this maybe that I now have with this particular person. And I wrote a little piece which I shared on Instagram. I've never performed it before. I don't know if it rhymes or not, but the title of the poem is, I once loved a girl, she wasn't responding to my calls, okay? As I do all 3 performances, I'm just giving you a trigger warning that I will talk about death, suicide, self-harm, and such sensitive things. So just be wary of that, all right? Are we ready? Okay. And throughout the performance, I would appreciate if we do not clap. If you like something that in poetry we do this, we snap, right? So, because it maintains the energy, right? So let's start. Okay. I once loved a girl. She was kind yet firm, driven yet calm, fierce yet gentle. We spoke love, life, politics and travel. She always picked up my call, no matter what time or what day. She laughed at all my jokes, even the terrible ones. She and I both had an affinity towards pain. She always found herself listening to other people's problem, trying to help them in any way possible. I always told her to protect herself, but she believed that the world is better than we think, that the people are kinder than how we treat them, that life's longer than what we submit to be. We spoke quite regularly until one fine day when I stopped hearing back from her. Months went by, but I didn't hear anything. I texted her, called her, emailed her for months. The number you're calling is switched off. So I thought she ghosted me, abandoned me like the last lady did. And after trying and waiting for 11 months, I started accepting it. I thought life's asking me to move forward and open myself to a secure type of love, a type of love that doesn't bring me pain. So I went on dates, I spoke to people, I even liked a few people. But she always was there at the back of my mind. She reminded me of Rani Lakshmibai. She had 2 horses. She wore a sari to her workplace, her battleground, every day just like Rani. I used to call her Sarpanch Sahiba. She used to call me Coach Ji. But I often found myself wondering, why would she do this? Why would she vanish without giving me a clue? She was a fighter, All her life, she fought for what she believed in, and she always said that she believed in me. So it didn't make sense that she put me down without putting up a fight. Until I received the news last night that she didn't fight for me because she couldn't. She didn't ghost me. She didn't abandon me. And as I read the news article with her face on it, it answered all my questions and cemented all my fears. I once loved a girl. She wasn't responding to my calls, and now she never will. You see, the human body cannot bear the weight of a 1.5-ton vehicle on it. So, to the girl I once loved, I wish I bump into you in some other world again. I will always love you, Sarpanch Sahiba. Take care. Thank you. That's the first piece, that's Kash, because it's a Kash that it'll always be a Kash for me. The second is Kash. The boys here will relate, right? And so the meaning of Kash is an escape. For some people, it's intoxication. For some people, it's sex. For some people, it's a lot of things, right? For me, briefly, it became alcohol. And I found myself leaning on to alcohol to reduce my pain. This was last year or something. And that's when I wrote this poem, because I felt that there are too many incompletes in my life. And so I had this incomplete whiskey glass with me, and so I wrote the poem. So the second poem on Kash is called My 1 a.m. Whiskey. Okay. I poured my 1 a.m. whiskey, hoping that every sip takes away the words from my lips that usually finds its way back to my throat. I feel I'd rather choke myself with unfinished words because finishing them has been ending up in me being hard on myself. My fingers are finding it difficult to hold the glass tight. My thoughts are pulling my grip away. It's like they're telling me that I wouldn't be keen on taking the last sip. And lately, I've been listening to my thoughts a lot. Usually, they tell me to gulp it down. You see, etiquette says that you shouldn't leave your drink unfinished, but not today. My 1 a.m. whiskey is now my 3 a.m. whiskey, and I don't think my fingers would touch that glass again. But as I head to my bed, still thinking about that unfinished glass, kept elegantly between the crevice of the sofa, I'm tempted to think that my life has too many incompletes. Incomplete careers, incomplete loves, incomplete friendships, incomplete thoughts, and an incomplete self. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I stopped, shook my head, walked back to the hall, and picked that glass wrapped around by the water stains. A little shake, a deep breath, and then it goes down my throat, taking away a few words along with it. My 3 a.m. whiskey wouldn't be incomplete. Maybe some other day, maybe some other time, but not today. Thank you. And on Kash itself, there's this other very small piece. So as I said, for a lot of us, we figure out our coping mechanisms when something goes wrong with us. And, so alcohol was one of the things that I used. Sex was something that I used a few years ago just to escape, because I was this heartbroken guy and wanted to prove that I'm a man, and then I would just try to sleep around to get that validity. Soon realized that's not how life works. And so this is when I wrote this poem. The title is very interesting. I get a lot of shit sometimes for the title from my relatives on Instagram. It's called I'm a Man Slut. And I'll perform the piece. Let me just find that one second. I just saved everything. I don't know where did it go. 1 second. Yep, got it. Yeah. Cool, again, trigger warning. I speak about a lot of things here, okay? And there are no kids here, no? Okay, no. All right. Hey, I'm a man slut, and here's how I'd like to fuck. Breathe your warm care around my neck and whisper, I'm here, as you trickle down your fingers over the contours of my insecurity, and make love to the love handles, the man boobs. Weave your protection over my deformed fingers and caress my scar from the time I carved it with a broken glass. Blindfold me with all my I am not enoughs and I am scared. Pull my faith like you pull my hair and gaze right into the depths of my agony until they quiver. Grind your affection all over my hard wall and let it slide into your embrace until it surrenders. Provoke me into introspection and lure me into trust until I pick up my broken conscience and push you against the wall, roaring in reaffirmation. Stroke your fingers all over my boundaries till I squirt all the shame that I've been carrying since the first time a stranger groped me. Once the act is done, fall into my arms as I fall into peace. Don't move. The teardrop will dry on its own. And leave the door open when or if you leave, because I do want to fuck just like this again. So that's Kash. And the final piece is called Koshish. So a little context here, I was in the army before, I'm an ex-NDA. And in 2017, a spine injury ended my career. I'm basically a 26-year-old man with a 50-year-old back. And so when I was in the hospital bed, and I was paralyzed for around 45, 46 days, and then that's when they declared me unfit. And it was my dream to be in the forces, and I was living my dream, and I had nothing else except the forces in my life. So when that was taken away, I had no reason to live. And then there was a phase when I was in the hospital bed that I decided to end my life. And I'm a very organized, systematic man, right? Structured, regimented and all. So in the army, a decided date, an event date is called the D-Day, which is called D-0. And then we have the countdown. So if it's 10 days to the event, it's D-10, -9, and so on. So D-Day is D-0, and you do the event, right? So I did my whole countdown of D-10. And D-Day is the date in March 2017 when I decided to go ahead with it. And so what I did was, so every single day, I allotted to a specific aspect of my life. So let's say D-4 was my Dadaji, D-3 was my mom, D-2 was my sister, and so on and so forth. And D-1 was for myself, and D-Day was the day I was going to go ahead with it. And I had planned different ways to do it because I was a spinal case. So every 10 minutes, the nurse used to check on me. And so then I had to figure out a way that I ended without them being able to revive me, and then do a lot of mathematics in my head. And that's when I wrote first half of this poem, when I decided how to do it. Eventually did not go ahead with it. D-2, it was my parents and my dad and mom are amazing people. My dad just passes ridiculous dad jokes. It's so disgusting. My mom laughs. It's that disgusting. And there's this very cute relationship wherein my dad will pass a joke and my mom will just smile out of disgust, giving validation to my dad, and my dad just feels he won the world. And so there was a very cute picture that my sister had clicked. And we didn't have phones or internet back then in the army. So my sister used to write letters and send me those printed photos. So there was this photo of my dad and mom. And my dad just like shrugging like a dad joke thingy. And my mom just looking at him at disgust. And then it occurred to me that, you know what, I can leave, but I can't do this to them. So let's just figure out how I can. For now, it was just a pause. I'm like, how do I just take care of them right now? Then I'll decide what to do with me. And so then I decided not to go ahead with the D-Day. And when I came back, became a civilian again, tried to figure out some new meaning of life. That's when I wrote the second half of this poem. So it technically took me 3 years to write this poem. It's a very short piece. And it's also the last poem of my book. It's called The Mighty Mustang. Mustang, and there's a Mustang tattoo here as well. It's a reference from back in the army. And so the final piece is called Koshish. And the title of the piece is called Is It Time? Again, trigger warnings. I'm going to talk about suicide. Cool. Once I wanted to die, and I'll tell you how. I could get bitten by a snake. It will take around 30 to 60 minutes, but I could slit my wrist and finish it off in 15. Talking about poison, cyanide is the quickest, 7 minutes. But that'll be painful, I wonder. Or hey, I could take sleeping pills and wake up again. That'll be peaceful, isn't it? 5 minutes if I hang myself, 3 minutes if I drown, 2 minutes if I touch a live wire and electrocute myself out. Nah, I needed to be quick. I could probably just jump off a tall building or pull the trigger placed on my head. Done and dusted in a second. Well, I thought of all this and honestly wanted to try them so much. But I guess it's not the time. Or is it? I thought of it again and again and again in my head. And I thought of it again and I actually got my answer. I could spend those 30 to 60 minutes pumping my arms at the gym. I could use those 15 minutes going through my family's photographs, help my friend, support a stranger, stand up for a good cause, empathize, love, hope. I want to listen to my favorite song for those 5 minutes or look into someone's eyes for 3. I want to kiss someone for 2 minutes and dance like crazy on my feet. And I don't want anything quick. because I want to live life bit by bit. Thank you so much for being here and listening to me. And letting me, thank you. Thanks for letting me share a piece of myself and a lot of other people as well. And thanks for letting me dedicate it to Sarpanch Sahiba. It means a lot. I'll see you soon in Lahe. Bye-bye.